In January of 2012, I took my sabbatical to Tanzania, Zanzibar, and South Africa. I've put some pictures together of my Tanzanian safari that I'd like to share with you. My journey started in Newark Airport at 7 a.m. on New Year's Day. So I've had more than a few people ask me, how do you even get to Tanzania? In my case, I flew from Newark Airport to Detroit, to Schiphol in Amsterdam, to Kilimanjaro International Airport in Moshi, Tanzania. So let's take a second to orient ourselves. Here's Tanzania. You can see Zanzibar is off on the right. Mount Kilimanjaro borders Kenya, up in the top right. And you can see there's a lot of red on this map depicting all the national parks in Tanzania. I've heard while I was there that actually 75% of Tanzania is national park. Here's the view of Mount Kilimanjaro from the Kia Lodge where we stayed the night that we landed. I should have known right away that I was in over my head. The mountain would have to wait though. Our first few days in Tanzania were set aside for safari. Here you can see Patrick and Em. Patrick was our guide who taught us a lot about animals, geography, and the culture of Tanzania, including a 5-hour Swahili lesson on our last day together. Our first safari stop was in Manyara National Park, where baboons ran all over the entranceways and impalas were everywhere else. Turns out impalas aren't really that fast and are pretty much on the bottom of the food chain. We saw tons of giraffes and zebra. In all these shots, you can see Lake Manyara, which is a large, salty, acidic, alkaline lake that covers a lot of surface area but is not very deep. My highlight of Manyara Park, and one of my highlights of the trip overall, was seeing these elephants. First we spotted them from far away, probably around half mile, maybe even 3/4 of a mile. And there were dozens of them, but they were really small, so we had to look at them through binoculars and zoom lenses. But over time, they started to come closer and closer, and eventually they were right on top of us, all around us, around the cars, in between the cars. They were elephants of all ages and sizes. As you can see, we even got some good pictures of the really young ones. After the elephants, we stopped by the hippo pool, where we saw this guy. The next day, we went to the Ngorongoro crater, which is a place so amazing it's hard to believe it exists. It's almost like stepping into Jurassic Park or the land before time. There's just something about the place that is so alive and vibrant that you just expect dinosaurs to still be living there. This is the first lion that I saw in Tanzania and Africa at all, and of course I took 40 pictures of it thinking I would never see a lion. At the end of my trip, I'd seen about 30 lions. Zebras turned out to be one of my favorite things to photograph, because of the lines, because of the way they stuck out against the brush, and because you get really close and they didn't really care. On the crater floor, the zebra, the Cape buffalo, the wildebeest all seemed to just be hanging out, enjoying the day, and enjoying the grass, and trying not to get eaten. It was a nice surprise to find this serval cat, which is usually nocturnal. It was also pretty exciting to find these guys, some hyena cubs that their mom had left to stay out of the sun while she went and found food. As we're getting ready to leave the crater, we got another reminder of just what an amazing place it is, when this herd of elephants stopped for a snack in the same place we did. From the crater to the gorge, as the saying goes, and our next stop on our trip was to Old Divide Gorge, and the camp run by the local Maasai there. Here's Em with Joseph, a Maasai warrior. Old Divide Gorge is considered to be the cradle of civilization. It's where Lewis and Mary Leakey spent their careers unearthing man's earliest ancestors, including Australopithecus and Homo habilis. Our camp nearby was pretty cool too, as we got to enjoy the African sunsets, the sunrises, stampedes, and this guy, a hyrax, who looks like a rodent but is actually closely related to elephants. We spent our last day on safari in Tanzania in Serengeti. Serengeti means the endless plain, and when you're there, it's easy to see why, as the grass just goes on and on forever. In these pictures, you'll see a lot of wildebeest. In January, the wildebeest are getting ready for their migration up to Kenya. They start in the southern Serengeti and amass numbers of up to 2 million wildebeests. When we were there, we estimated roughly that there were probably hundreds of thousands of wildebeest already there, as the picture looked like this in all directions. Wildebeest aren't the only animals in the Serengeti, though. There's gazelle, hartebeest, a relative of the wildebeest. These leopards we found in what the locals call a sausage tree, and lions, both on the ground and in trees, as we found this mother and 2 cubs. Thanks for checking out the pictures of my Tanzanian safari, and I hope you come back to see my pictures of Kilimanjaro.